Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News. Today feels like somebody dumped the whole world into a pressure cooker and tried to fix it by yelling at the lid. We got wars that are also ceasefires, an economy rich on paper and broke at the pump, elections like a buffet where every dish is angry, an Ebola fight turning into international hot potato, and artificial intelligence trying to go public before most folks can turn off autocorrect. So pull up a chair and let us explain the news before the news sues us for emotional damages. Segment 1. The ceasefire that forgot to cease. The big story is still the expanding mess between the United States, Israel, Iran, Hezbollah, and everybody else standing too close to the fireworks barrel. We keep hearing the word ceasefire, but apparently that now means everybody agrees to stop shooting unless they still feel like shooting, which is less of a peace deal and more of a group chat with missiles. President Donald Trump says talks with Iran are moving. Israel says operations in Lebanon are still going, and Iran is reportedly studying a deal while warning it could make the map worse. That is not diplomacy. That is 3 raccoons fighting over a lawnmower while regular people get stuck under the almost bombs. Israel pushed deeper into southern Lebanon, including around the old Beaufort Castle area, which sounds like a place where a wizard should sell soup, not a battlefield. Hezbollah keeps firing, Israel keeps striking, Iran keeps threatening wider pressure, and Washington keeps pretending this all fits inside one binder labeled regional stability. Families across the region live with daily fear while cable news turns it into neat arrows and serious music. Like a family reunion where every uncle brought a drone and nobody brought potato salad. Because this war sits next to shipping lanes that feed the world economy, foreign policy is about to crawl into your gas tank and charge rent. Segment 2. The Strait of Hormuz, ate your paycheck. The Strait of Hormuz is still the little watery doorway that makes the whole global economy act like a nervous goat on a tin roof. A huge chunk of the world's oil normally moves through there, and when Iran squeezes that route, prices jump faster than a possum hearing a shotgun rack. Oil spikes do not stay in oil because diesel moves groceries, jet fuel moves people, and freight costs sneak into everything from eggs to lawn chairs. Wall Street can throw confetti because big indexes are high, but small businesses are borrowing money at interest rates that feel like payday loans wearing a necktie. That is the economy now. A fancy restaurant upstairs and a busted vending machine in the basement. The Federal Reserve gets trapped in the middle like a referee at a demolition derby, because cutting rates might help small businesses, but cheaper money can feed inflation when energy costs are already feral. Regular people hear experts say the market is strong while they decide whether to fill the tank or buy the good cereal. That is not a vibe problem. That is a math problem with boots on its throat. Add the fight over Oman, shipping routes, sanctions, tolls, and blockades, and the world economy looks like a county fair parking lot after 3 inches of rain. The punchline is that a war thousands of miles away can reach into your wallet, steal $20, and leave a note saying, "Blame uncertainty." Segment 3. California votes in the political junk drawer. Back at home, California is voting in a primary so crowded it looks less like democracy and more like somebody spilled a tackle box into a ballot envelope. The race for governor has Xavier Becerra, Tom Steyer, Steve Hilton, and enough other names to make the ballot feel like a restaurant menu written by a committee with commitment issues. Governor Gavin Newsom is term-limited, so everybody is trying to inherit California, which is like managing a gold mine that is also on fire and charges $12 for parking. Beneath the jokes, this race matters because California is where housing, taxes, climate, crime, tech money, and party identity crash into one expensive pothole. Los Angeles is having its own mayoral drama, with Karen Bass fighting off challengers while voters argue over homelessness, public safety, fire response, and whether the city feels fixable. Nithya Raman is pushing aggressive housing reform. Spencer Pratt is using AI-generated campaign spectacle. And Bass is trying to prove that incremental progress still counts when the public mood is chewing through the drywall. That is where politics is headed. Half policy debate and half digital circus, with candidates trying to be mayor, influencer, emergency manager, and human algorithm all at once. It is like electing a sheriff at a county fair where the dunk tank is full of venture capital. While voters decide who gets to run the big places, the health crisis overseas is reminding everybody that government competence is not some luxury item. Segment 4: Ebola and the International Hot Potato. Central Africa is dealing with a dangerous Ebola outbreak, and health officials are trying to contain it before it turns into the kind of nightmare nobody wants to learn about through a push alert. The strain reported in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda is serious, hard to manage, and not something you fix with a press conference and a basket of airport hand sanitizer. The United States helped plan a quarantine facility in Kenya for Americans who might be exposed, and that created a firestorm because Kenyans looked at the plan and said, "Hold up, why is your emergency landing in our backyard?" The grounded point is that public health only works when communities trust the plan, and trust does not show up just because a government stamped a folder. This is where global power gets awkward, because America can spend billions moving aircraft carriers but still struggle to explain why a quarantine center should be accepted by people living near it. Kenyan officials say the facility could strengthen preparedness. Critics say it shifts risk onto a country with its own health challenges, and health experts worry that avoiding repatriation could make outbreak response harder. Nobody wants Ebola crossing borders, but nobody wants to become the world's medical mudroom either. It is like your cousin bringing a sick raccoon to Thanksgiving and saying, "Do not worry, I bought a cage from Amazon." While public health officials try to stop a virus from spreading, the tech world is proving machines can spread panic, money, and nonsense even faster. Segment 5: Artificial intelligence wants a ring and your wallet. Artificial intelligence is having another big news day, because Anthropic has confidentially filed for an initial public offering, which is business language for the robot putting on a suit and asking Wall Street to clap. Companies are racing to sell AI to offices, governments, schools, and every manager who thinks automation is a magic broom that sweeps without knocking over the lamp. The promise is efficiency, the fear is job loss, and the reality is probably a spreadsheet that fires 3 people before hallucinating a refund policy. The serious point is that the technology is becoming infrastructure before society has finished arguing over the rules. At the same time, researchers keep finding vulnerabilities, governments are trying to register AI tools, and politicians are discovering that synthetic videos can make a campaign look bigger, louder, and dumber before breakfast. Voters are already exhausted by war, prices, disease, and elections. And now they also have to ask whether the thing they just watched was real or a chatbot wearing a Halloween mask. Throw in immigration raids, protest violence, and culture war fights, and the country starts feeling like a carnival ride operated by a guy who learned mechanics from comment sections. We are being told the future is frictionless, but somehow it keeps scraping everybody's ankles. So yes, AI may help write the next chapter, but based on today, it will probably forget the plot, overcharge the reader, and call it innovation. In conclusion, the news today is one giant reminder that every crisis has cousins, and all of them showed up hungry. War pushes oil, oil pushes prices, prices push voters, voters push politicians, politicians push panic, and then some tech company asks if we want to automate the panic for a monthly fee. The world is not ending, but it is definitely making a noise like a dryer full of socket wrenches. Stay informed, stay skeptical, and maybe keep a little extra gas in the tank. Because apparently foreign policy now comes with surge pricing.